I don't want to tap it, but I'm not.
Tap it.
I think it'll pick me up if I get close to it. Hey, everybody. If we could get you to find a seat, we're about ready to get started. Hello. We're here tonight to share information about the idea proposed earlier this year to change the designation of the Buffalo National River. My name is Jennifer Jones. Judge Horton asked me to work with his office to put together this panel. Melissa Smith and I will be helping move the discussion along tonight and reading statements from others. Tara Fondrius is the artist behind the Ozark Life Project. She's put together these images that are playing on the screens. So, I'm going to say that every person here was impacted by the transition to a national river 50 years ago. As a community, we enjoy the access that we have to the river, and we depend heavily on the tourist industry to keep our local economy rolling. We could talk and argue about what happened when the park came in for 3 days. So we're going to stick to what's happening now. Discussion and rumors that a change could expand the park boundaries, open up natural resources to development, or that maybe the federal government plans to institute eminent domain for the purchase of private land, excuse me, to be included in a new Buffalo River National Park and Preserve. Or maybe even that wealthy corporations are buying up large properties to either develop or to donate to the government. We want to give you all the information we've been able to discover about what has been proposed by whom and how it might impact you. We will hear from several of our guests, some with their thoughts or their organization's stance on the issue, some with explanations and information. We will have a brief question and answer session after they've said their piece. The bottom line is everyone up here, everybody that's sitting with us, are the people you've chosen to lead your town, district, or county. They want you to know that they're doing their best to stay on top of what's happening and that they're listening to all of you on this issue. Rob Grinder is going to start us off with an invocation, and Senator Missy Urban is going to say a few words to get us started.
Good evening, everybody. If you'd all stand, counted an honor to be here tonight. As I was praying about this meeting, I know it's a strong concern on everyone that's here. A scripture come to my mind, probably very common to most that's here. It's found in 2 Chronicles 7:14. It says, "If my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land." We need the Lord to move on this situation, and I believe if we'll humble ourselves in prayer that we will have him to really move in this. Let's all, if we could, let's bow our heads in prayer. Lord, we come to you tonight in humility, Lord, before you, knowing that all things are in your power. God, we know that everything was made by you, this earth, and the fullness thereof was made by you, the lakes, the oceans, the rivers, the streams. And all of this has been that we can enjoy the beauty of them and humble ourselves and occupy and take care of them. Tonight, God, we're here for that concern. We're asking you, God, to come and guide tonight each speaker. We're thankful that they're here, each leader that put this meeting together. We ask that you would use them, speak through them. And God, we give you the praise tonight in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you very much. Missy Irwin will be coming.
Our first speaker tonight is going to be Missy Irvin. She's going to read the letter that she wrote to our federal legislators.
Good evening.
I'm Senator Missy Irvin. I have the privilege and the honor to be able to represent District 24, which includes Newton and Searcy County, Stone County, Van Buren County, Faulkner County, and a little bit of and Van Buren County in northern Faulkner County. I'm going to read you a letter that I wrote to all of our 6 federal delegation, to Senator Cotton, Senator Bozeman, to French Hill, Steve Womack, Rick Crawford, and to Bruce Westerman. This letter was dated October 24th. Dear Congressman Westerman, I'm writing to you today on behalf of my constituents of Searcy and Newton counties, the vast majority of which stand in strong opposition to any land designation change for the Buffalo National River. My constituents are strongly opposed to any encroachment on their rights, specifically hunting, farming, and boating. That may be the result of any federal action. Furthermore, there is strong opposition to any increase of federal lands through acquisition, eminent domain, or donation of lands that would increase the federal footprint in my area. I stand with my constituents in this opposition. Moving forward, I respectfully request that my constituents, the local elected officials, and any state representation, including myself, be notified of any potential federal action regarding this or any other issue that might affect this area. Your attention to this matter is greatly appreciated. Thank you for your service to our state and to the nation. I want to say that I am sorry for the wounds that got ripped open from this action. I have expressed in person my extreme disappointment of the disrespect that occurred to each and every one of you. I drove to Northwest Arkansas, and I told the representatives of the runway group that what they did was wrong. If they wanted to have a conversation, they need to come here and have a conversation with the people that take care of this river. In my personal remarks, in my personal conversation with them, they have realized that they have lost. They realize that you have won. I told them that this is not the Arkansas way. You are to treat your neighbors as you want to be treated. And they did not do that. They did not act like Arkansans. They've gotten that message pretty loud and pretty clear from me personally. And I also want to say that I've expressed that personally to Congressman Westerman. I told him my disappointment that I was never contacted, the local elected officials were never contacted. I told him I was disappointed in that. We had a very good conversation. He expressed to me that he is not in favor of increasing any federal real estate or increasing the federal boundaries of the National River. He hears us loud and clear, and he will not be pursuing this effort. That's my personal conversation with Bruce Westerman. My personal conversation with Rick Crawford was the same. He never supported this, didn't know about it, and will never support this land designation change. Earlier today, I lost my nephew. There are a lot of things that are really important in life. What God gave us is just tremendous. It's the most beautiful part in the world. The river is beautiful. These Ozark Mountains are beautiful. And when Darrell Treat, we donated or dedicated the trail, the man that gave the land, he said to us, "These mountains know our names." That's so true. These mountains know our names. He said there's a magnet inside of us, and these mountains have a magnet inside of them. And I think that's what this river was too. And there's a lot of things important in life, folks, but there is nothing more important than family. And there's nothing more important than your loved ones. My nephew loved kayaking. He loved the river. He loved fishing. And his dad, my brother, died when he was 4 years old in a tragic sledding accident. So it makes this one really, really hard for me, because it was my brother Vince's oldest son. And he has a little boy who's 1 year old, who's now also going to grow up without a dad. And so this is very important, and I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so glad to stand with you shoulder and shoulder in this opposition. And I'm so glad to stand with you in your love for what God has given us. But I just want to ask you that this Thanksgiving, that you just hold your loved ones really, really tight and be thankful for them, because they may not be here tomorrow. If you'll excuse me, I am going to go be with my family, and I'm not going to stay for the rest of this event. But I want you to know how important you are to me, and how important this issue is to me, and how grateful I am for you letting me have the opportunity to be your voice. God bless you all.
I want to say thanks to everybody for being out here tonight. When a community comes together, it shows power. And this right here is showing power to our people, as far as, you know, whether it's Congressman Crawford's office, you've got everybody. I mean, when it comes to the dignitaries and stuff that a local official has to deal with, and they can see this right here as the people coming together that would be truly against this issue, then, you know, that means a lot for me as the mayor of Marshall. But what I want to kind of get with you on and stuff is, about a month and a half ago, we started getting phone calls. People was getting surveys on the phone. Like Senator Irvin said, no one contacted us. No one said anything about this. So I talked to the county judge. We got together. We started making phone calls. I called the mayor of Jasper up in Newton County. I called the mayor in Marion County, talked to him. I know the county judge done his part on the county judges in them two counties also. We wanted to have a meeting. We wanted it to get all the dignitaries to get together, elected officials, in Searcy, Marion, and Newton counties, because we had questions. Every time we contacted somebody, nobody knew nothing about it. I mean, I spoke to Elijah Snow 2 or 3 different times. Their office didn't know. So like I said, you know, we needed questions answered. That way we can contact the people that contact us, I should say, and give them an answer on what's going on. So I think it was around the 19th of last month. We had a I rented the Veterans Hall myself. I just wanted everybody to kind of get together to ask questions and find out. So we all got together, asked a bunch of questions. Again, like I said, none of the people that we visit with, represent, knew anything about this. So there was one office that did it. It was Bruce Westerman's office. I mean, they knew a little bit about it. We'll leave that as is. But we got a lot of questions answered. We got our voices out there. We got the people voices through us to them that we did not like this. So, like I said, I know Newton County, they had their public meeting. Searcy County's doing theirs. I don't know if Marion County is going to do theirs or not. But, you know, our biggest thing was getting things straight. I know, like Senator Irvin said, it tore open a lot of wounds. Lots of stuff has happened in the past, back before my time, or right about my time, I should say. And there's a lot of things that was done that shouldn't have been done, but it happened. And as far as my generation and the people that I represent now, I didn't want to see that happen again. So I think, as you know, they started the petition around, getting people to sign and stuff, trying to get everybody to stand together, because our issue is trust. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's trust. When it's the government's issues and stuff that they did when they done the National River, everybody trusted, everything was good, and then it went south quick. So the trust issue that we have as far as, you know, the government side, and I may be speaking out of turn, but I say what's on my mind. So that's the issue that everybody has is, you know, if something like this does happen, it'll be fine right now, but what will be next time? What will be next year? What will be the following year? Because nobody can promise you something and it stays, because they'll change their minds. And I know the game and fish is, you know, part of a government issue, but yet it's something different. I know when they done the Richland Valley and made the hunting preserves, they said they wasn't closing any roads, nothing. They was going to keep everything open. Well, I know the Park Service has closed off a lot of roads that's going to the river, and the game and fish turned around and done the same thing. So, again, our issue, as far as myself and what people are coming to me and saying, is being able to trust them on what's going to happen. Nobody knows except for the man upstairs on what's going to happen later on. But as of right now, if the people can stand together and we can make a voice then saying, hey, we don't want to change. Change is economic development. I'm all about it. I've been told if this right here was to go to a park, you know, the money would be there, there'd be businesses come, and that's fine and dandy, but yet, is that an issue that we want to talk about as far as trust? And that's my problem that I have. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. There's going to be other ones done the same way. They've got that question in their mind. Are you going to be able to trust them if something does change? So that question's going to be there from now on. But, you know, as far as, like I said, the economic development, I know myself, my city council that is here, and the ones that couldn't be here, that's a monthly thing. We try constantly to get businesses involved, get lots of prospects, but getting them here, as the chamber, Darrell Treat, he can tell you, he's the hardest worker on it that I can tell you. But I mean, getting them here for better jobs, better pay for the community, that is very, very hard to do. But as your mayor, my best interest is for the people, especially inside this city. And if I can bring economic development with the help of the chamber and businesses around in the county, I'm all about it. Because I want to see Marshall prosper to the best of its ability. So, thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is going to be Darrell Treat.
First off, let me add my welcome to everyone that's here this evening. No matter where you're from, welcome. But I'd like to extend a special welcome to everyone who lives within the watershed or owns property within the watershed, all the good people of Searcy County, Newton County, Marion County, and Baxter County, welcome. Okay, I was asked to tell you what the Runway Group is, because not everyone probably knows who they are. I went to their own website, and on that website I found Runway Group doing our part in making Northwest Arkansas the best place to live. Runway is a holding company making investments in real estate, outdoor initiatives, hospitality, and businesses, making Bentonville and Arkansas the best version of itself for everyone. The co-founders, Stuart Walton and Tom Walton, grew up in Bentonville. They believe that active, better connected communities make a more vibrant, joyful place to live and work. So that's the Runway Group. They're the ones who we believe are a catalyst for this initiative to redesignate the Buffalo National River. Now I'm going to go over some of the timeline. First off, according to the Madison County Record, in June of 2022, the Runway Group approached Arkansas Congressman Bruce Westerman with the idea of redesignation of the Buffalo National River. Congressman Westerman chairs the House Natural Resources Committee, where any bill in the House of Representatives regarding redesignation would have to come through. Next, Governor Sanders becomes governor on 10 January 2023. On 24 January 2023, 14 days later, Governor Sanders, by executive order, established the Natural State Initiative and the Natural State Initiative Council, and appointed her husband, Brian Sanders, to serve as chairman of the Advisory Council. On 21 February, Governor Sanders announced that she will appoint 17 people to the Natural State Advisory Council. Of the 17 people appointed, Austin Albers of the Buffalo Outdoor Center and Tom Walton, co-founder of the Runway Group, were appointed. A 9 May article by Arkansas Business Magazine, First Gentleman Sanders said the goal is to double tourism's contribution to the state's economy. Around that same time, I was told that Brian Sanders wanted to meet with some of us up here in this part of the state, but that meeting never happened. As a point of editorial at this point, I would love to see all the notes, messages, emails, letters, and minutes from the Natural State Initiative Advisory Council, a Freedom of Information request. In late September, while I was speaking to a new Chamber of Commerce member in our office in Marshall being the largest town in the Buffalo River watershed, the individual said she had recently been surveyed about the Buffalo National River. This was the first I had heard of the survey. About the same time frame, people in Newton County were also asking questions. According to the Madison County Record, the survey was conducted on 11 to 13 September. The survey results mentioned a coalition for Buffalo River National Park Preserve. A town hall meeting was held in Jasper on 26 October. Nearly 1,200 people attended it, including my wife and myself. Now, back up prior to that meeting in Jasper on 26 October, and the Arkansas Times reported on 18 October in their article that it was said that the Runway Group was completely backing out. It also said in that 18 October article that they were standing down from further investigation at this point. However, Arkansas Democrat editorials and an article have just kept coming after the point in which the Runway Group said they were standing down and completely backing out. On 24 October, there was an editorial in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. It said, the runway group should be applauded for getting the ball rolling. And on 26 October, there was an article on the topic. On 31 October, there was an editorial in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette that said, we don't know if the redesignation will take place. Folks gotta talk first. Well, what's there to talk about if the runway group has already completely backed out? That seems to be very mysterious to me. And then on 5 November, Rex Nelson wrote an editorial, and then in his editorial, he said, it gives me hope that this effort will succeed. That's on 5 November, after the Arkansas Times had reported on 18 October that they were backing out and standing down. And then on 12 November, there's another editorial in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette by Rex Nelson, and he said, change is coming. Knowing the players involved, I'm convinced the change is for the better. That brings us to this moment here tonight. Thank you. Next up, I want to introduce Elijah Snow, Field Representative for Congressman Rick Crawford.
Hello, everybody. My name is Elijah Snow. I just want to start off by once again thanking you all guys for being here. This is huge to the legislative process, and you guys getting here, letting your voice be heard, and reaching out to these dignitaries. So thank you guys for showing up to things like this. It's very important, not only for us to know what you guys want, but you as a community as well. So I just wanted to start out. Jennifer asked that I sort of go over some of the different designations that the National Park Service refers to. And then from there, we'll talk about a little bit about what it takes for a bill like this to actually pass Congress and be enacted. So to start off, we're going to start off, and we're all familiar with this one, but the definition that the Park Service gives the National River, which is currently what the Buffalo River is designated as, is a preserved free-flowing streams and their immediate environment with at least one outstandingly remarkable natural, cultural, or recreational value. They must flow naturally without major alteration of the waterway by dams, diversion, or otherwise alteration, besides protecting and enhancing the rivers. So that is, where the river is currently designated at. A few of the other, things you're all familiar, I'm sure, with a national park. That's generally your big ones, big swaths of land that encompasses, large, massive amounts of land. So think Grand Canyon, Yosemite, things like that. What has been proposed, or what we've kept hearing from this proposal from the Runway Group was a national park preserve. So in 1974, Big Cypress and Big Thicket were authorized as the first national preserves in the country. This category is established primarily for the protection of certain resources. Activities like hunting and fishing or the extraction of minerals and fuels may be permitted if they do not jeopardize national values, and that's what has been, I guess, proposed by this Runway Group for the switches to that National Park Preserve. So she just wanted me to go ahead and clear those up with you so you guys understand which each entity is. And then from there, I wanted to speak a little bit about what it takes to get something like this done. So this is something that the National Park Service can't just do on their own as an agency. This is going to have to come through Congress, and it'll have to take an act of Congress, just like when the river was originally designated in the 1970s. So the first step on a bill like this, it would have to be introduced by a member of Congress. They would have to sponsor it. Usually that comes with a whole list of co-sponsors. And the bill will be placed in the hopper by the clerk's desk there at the House. And from there, the Speaker of the House will refer that bill to committee, or choose not to refer that bill to committee. So once it is referred to committee, and as Darrell mentioned, that would probably be the Natural Resources Committee in this instance, it will continue on to the committee. Once it's there, it will begin multiple markup sessions, public hearings, where they bring in members of the public so they can hear the various sides of the issue. They'll listen to folks on either side, locals, experts, all that good stuff. So the committee process is really where this gets honed down. It's where the most work is done investigating into this of is this a good thing, is this a bad thing, what does this mean, and whatnot. During these markup sessions, amendments to the bill will be offered to the committee members, and they can obviously accept those, reject those, and so forth. Finally, the committee will reach some sort of action on the bill, whether they recommend to put that to the floor for a full vote, or whether they recommend that the bill dies there in committee and it doesn't pass. If the bill passes that vote and makes it to the House floor, and then once again gets that 51% needed on the House floor, it will continue on to the Senate, where it has to repeat that process all over again. And if the Senate makes any amendments to the bill that weren't in the House bill, then that bill will either be sent back to the House because they have to pass the same version of the bill, or they will meet for a joint session where they'll iron out those differences and then pass the bill through both chambers. And then after that, it goes on to the President's desk where he can sign it or veto it. And so it is quite a lengthy process and a lot of hoops to jump through. And then, after sort of explaining that, I want to tell you where we are in that process. And we are at step 0. So there has been no proposals brought to our office. There's no movement in Congress to push something like this through. And what we told the judge and the mayor when they called us was, we haven't heard anything. And until there is some movement there and some legwork that is being done, there's really not much that we can do. But where we do stand right now, I just want to start by saying that our office was not approached by the Runway Group. I know I've fielded several calls from a lot of you folks in the community, and it seems to be that there's a lot of misinformation out there that maybe we were having some backdoor deals with this Runway Group, and we're going to push it through anyway, and that is just not the case. We found out about this the same way you guys did. I got phone calls in my office in Mountain Home from people in Newton, Searcy County, very concerned about this. And then I passed them along to the congressman for his first time to hear about it as well. So we just wanted to let you know that this isn't something that we've been having meetings with them and trying to push this without you all's information. Now, since then, we've reached out to locals, whether it be local dignitaries, business leaders, just good folks calling us in on the phone, however, and I have not had one single phone call in the many I've taken that has been in support of this. With that being said, the congressman will oppose any plan that is opposed by locals and will not take their viewpoints into account. Our office would not be supportive of any plan that interrupts your rights to hunt, fish, float, or farm in the watershed. So we like I said, the sentiment from locals is enough for us to say, we hear you, we're listening, and we will oppose this based on the overwhelming opposition we've received from you all. And I would just... Yes, yeah, and that as well, So, and I just wanted to point out one more thing. So, a year or so ago, our office was approached by some folks and some interest in the state on changing the name down at Tyler Bend. And as you know, the Tylers are a very historic family here in the area. And they wanted to do this without consulting folks here and without asking. They wanted to just go ahead and tackle that at a congressional level. Our office, after talking with Daryl and the mayor and Missy and a lot of locals here, got the sentiment that you guys weren't contacted. Once again, you were overlooked, and so we actually stepped in to help stop that change. And we're happy to stand with you guys once again on this issue and let your voice be heard. So thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Next, we're going to have Ben Fruhoff IV. He's going to offer us some perspective from an attorney helping run his family's canoe concession business on the Buffalo.
This is not my speech, by the way, so I want to let y'all know that. So, yes, I am an attorney. I graduated in 2017. I never thought that I would be at the School of Law and then here studying canoe law, but here I am. And he never offered that class, but I think I could probably give one at some point. I'm the vice president of Buffalo Camping and Canoeing. My father, Ben Fruoff III, is in fact the president. I'm a Gilbert City councilman, and I am a lifelong resident of Arkansas and Gilbert as well. But I want to give y'all a perspective of what it's like being a canoe rental. Local yokels dealing with the federal government. Somehow it works, right? And there's been a lot of talk about what a prospectus is. This is the prospectus. If you want to do business with the national park, you have to submit a proposal to them, right? So, and that's what the prospectus is. Essentially, it is the Park Service saying, we have this great thing here called the Buffalo River, but we have some gaps here. We need someone to come out and provide services to the community, services to visitors, services to tourists, to show them how great it is. We need people to rent canoes. We need people to rent kayaks and do shuttle services. And so there's only a limited amount of permits that they issue. Well, how long is the permit for? So previous years, it was for 5 years, and then recently it's been moved to 10 years. So this prospectus, right now, if you are accepted, will begin January 1st of 2025 and go until December 31st of 2034. And so it's a solicitation. The Park Service is soliciting people to come here and to have a business here and serve the people of the Buffalo River and its visitors. But it's not just anybody can do it, right? It is a very rigorous process. They want to know financial capability. Do you have enough money in the bank to be able to, one, rent canoes, kayaks, right? Do you own the assets? Do you have the canoes you say you want to rent? Do you have vehicles to shuttle people? Do you have paddles and life jackets, right? These are all the things you have to have a canoe business. Are you insured? What's your business structure like? How much staff do you have hired? Right? It's a very rigorous process. And it's a very high burden. And so there's a contract you sign, but the prospectus has selection factors. And that is, what are you going to do to go above and beyond the minimum requirement? And the minimum requirement is the draft contract. It's the contract you sign on the dotted line saying you're going to uphold your end of the bargain, but what else are you going to do with these selection factors? And so I'm going to go through the selection factors. And so they score these, and whoever has the highest cumulative point total, gets the contract. So the first one, how is the offerer or the business owner going to protect, conserve, and preserve the natural park and minimize impacts on the natural environment? Number two, how is the business going to provide high quality, safe visitor experience at the national park? 3, experience, organizational structure, and relationship with other entities. 4, I'm almost done. Provide documents of financial capability, is what we were talking about before. You have the money to be able to say what you say you're going to do. And the commerce to carry on operations under the contract. And 5, pay franchise fees on gross receipts under the contract. And so whoever gets the most points is going to get that contract, unless you're preferred offerer, if you have preferential treatment, right? And I'm going to tell you what that is here in a second. But first I want to talk about the franchise fees. That is the money that my father, our business, and every canoe rental and every concessionaire with the national park has to pay to the National Park Service for the pleasure of doing business on the park, right? And so 4% is the minimum, right? It is the minimum for the first $250,000. The next minimum between $250,000 and $1 to $500,000, the minimum would be 5%. And for $500,000 and on, the minimum would be 6%. So that is one of the things, when you sign the dotted line, are you going to pay the minimum? Now, if someone wanted to bid on this and let's say our contract, well, they would in fact have to say a little bit higher. But what if two people for the same contract have the same exact score, but this person bid a little bit more? I am pleased to tell you, when I read this, we talk bad about the park a lot, but they're just like the rest of us, and they want this place to be special. And, yes, it's the federal government, but they've been working with us for 50 years. So I like to think that they want the same things we want. I don't know, but I hope and pray that's what they want. Because when it comes to the bidding process for the certain percentage, if someone else is going to bid more, the park put in the prospectus, this factor will be considered subordinate to preserving the park. Money is not an issue for the national park. And so we can extrapolate just from that in the prospectus that they're not concerned with the revenue that we're sending them. They're the federal government. They can print the stuff, for crying out loud. They can allocate money anytime they want to the national park through an act of Congress, as we just heard. I wish it was more often, but here we are. The National Park Service's focus from the prospectus, and this is my opinion from reading it, is they are focused on preserving and conserving the area. Again, it is a rigorous process to go through, but my family, we welcome that burden because we enjoy what we do. We love to see people smile and say, wow, you have a beautiful place here. And I said, yeah, let me show you some more of it, and maybe you'll see it the way I do. You'll treat it the same way. So preferential treatment, what is that? How does one become a preferred business with the national park? Well, there's no real exact definition in the prospectus, but in my opinion, it is someone who is in good standing, a business that is in good standing with the national park, that has met all requirements under the prior contract. But ultimately, the National Park Service will determine who is the preferred offerers. And currently, 11 out of the 12 previous canoe rentals on the park concessioners are preferred offerers. Your hometown people, the Gilbert General Store, we are preferred offerers because we love what we do. And we don't care how much of a rigmarole we have to go through. We want to continue to serve this community. We want to continue to show other people the beauty that we have here, but also to keep it the way it is. Some numbers, too. I thought this was interesting. Our contract at Buffalo Camping Canoeing is for 135 canoes and kayaks and 10 rafts. Now, every person, every other canoe rental on the river might have some difference there, but some quick math, if every canoe rental on the upper, the middle, the lower, rented all their boats, all their kayaks, all their rafts out at the exact same time, do you know how many boats we'd have on the river? 1,694 boats. That sounds like a normal Saturday here on the Buffalo, doesn't it? That's just canoe concessioners. That does not deal with private boats. This prospectus deals with concessioners, not private canoe floaters, kayakers, campers, only when they go through a concession. So if you have 1,694 boats on the river, you know how many boats you'd see every mile? About 12 to 13. Every mile for 130 miles on the river. Again, I've not seen that from every concessioner, but I've seen it just about every Saturday on the river. And it's just, change is coming. Change is kind of here. And in fact, in the prospectus and all these things you can actually pull up and look at the National Parks website. And they showed the last 3 years' historical revenue. And it says it's up. It's an upward trend. And that's the last 3 years is what they put on there. And you can go back farther, but what you see is the last 3 years. But those were banner years. COVID, our business increased. The next year, our business increased. And my dad and I are looking at each other, worn out, saying, where did all these people come from? And here we are. Another change that I think a lot of people have been talking about or might have heard of, the prospectus has put in there that concessioners beginning in 2026, we'll no longer be able to shuttle private vehicles on the river, right? So that means beginning 2026, if anybody rents a canoe from us or has their own boats, we cannot drive their vehicles or park it on the national park. They have to ride our shuttle buses. They have to ride our shuttle vans. For some, they'll have to ride the shuttle to the river and back from the river. So what that normally looks like currently is that someone comes in with their boat and their vehicle and says, hey, will you ride with me up to the access and just bring my vehicle back here? That's what we do. We charge them a small fee for it. But these are people not renting canoes from us. These are people that will have their own boats, and in fact, if we cut this out, I think we're going to have some unintended consequences. Because the parking, if you're shuttling yourself, if you're not involving a concessioner, this doesn't address you. You can still do that. If every person that had their own boat and vehicle cuts us out completely, if you've shuttled 100, well, now they're going to have 200 vehicles on the gravel bar, because logistically, you need one at the upper to take you up and float down, and then you got to have one to drive back. And that's not setting foot in an authorized concessioner location at all. I'm not saying that will happen, but it is certainly a possibility. Other unintended consequences with this is people are going to be out not knowing the waterway laws. They're not going to know what we all know every day when we go to the river, right? Don't bring glass. Can't have styrofoam. Leave that pickle jar at home. They're not going to know the weather. They're not going to know what we know. Hey, the river rises really quickly, and that really cool Jeep you have might be down at Maumee by now. Severe storms. They're not going to know river hazards, strainers, canoeing stumps, and rapids that we all know about. And they can't contact their concessioner. They'll have to, if there's an emergency, call 911, or if they're lost on the river, which we've had to pick up several before, they're going to call local law enforcement, local authorities, and it's going to put a strain on our local infrastructure. And, you know, we all do the best we can with what we got, but there's only so much that we can do. And my favorite is they're not getting the local treatment, guys. They're not knowing the stories that we have to tell and just the love that we have for this area. But what this tells me, though, is that the Park Service recognizes that there's a problem, right? There's a lot of people now. We see it every day, in the summer especially. And there might be changes, I don't know, it's complete speculation, but potential changes to private vehicles, private canoes. And the question is a good saying as a lawyer is that if two parties have a dispute, the best resolution is one where both leave having given something up. So if we want to be in the driver's seat on this, guys, the question is what are we willing to give up? I, for one, and we're getting into my solutions here, I would be perfectly fine with having a lifetime permit on my private boat, right? I know I'm going to get the use out of it. Now, these other people, they could have a permit as well. Our concession boats, we have to have a sticker on that boat. But what could we do with that money? Potentially, if everything's done right, that money could go to local law enforcement for search and rescue efforts, to building roads, to taking trees out of county highways and out of river accesses. Also, hey, if you get your boat stolen, I'm sure everybody knows someone who had something stolen from them. You know, we would have a way to find that boat. You could have a 3-day, a seasonal, or a 1-year permit. My favorite's the lifetime permit. I would pay it. And I know these aren't going to be popular, but the question is what are we willing to give up? Because we know change is coming. We see it when you're driving down the Baker Ford Road or you're going to Woolham. There's 15 cars going one way, and you feel like you're in Iraq because of the amount of dust everywhere. But the Park Service is open to change, and here's why. I have a few examples. Did you know that at Gilbert there once was a porta potty at the gravel bar? I saw a picture of it. I said, Dad, what's this? He goes, oh, we used to have the porta potties down at the river. Well, guess what happened every spring? 1, they got cleaned out, and 2, they got taken away. Well, after that, they moved the porta potties up to a non-flood zone. They can change. When my father was grandfathered in with Buffalo Camping Canoeing in the 70s, our permit was for 88 canoes because that's how many canoes he had at the time. Well, when this started getting more popular and the river, got more popular with people, we could tell people, like, when they come in to get a boat, I'm sorry, we've rented our permit for the day. We can only rent 88 canoes out at a time. You'll have to wait till another one comes in. What do you think that family or that person's going to do next year when they know that we only have so many boats that we can rent? They're going to buy their own. And that's what we're seeing now. I'm not saying that this is the reason why, but, it's happened. So, in fact, the Park Service recognized that problem and increased everyone's permit. Now we didn't have to do anything. They recognized the problem, gave us more boats to rent. And we still rent those out. I'll answer some questions at the end if you don't mind. So, there's a lot of things that can be done. I want everybody to be thinking about, because we're going to have more of these. What can we do to help mitigate the effects on the national park? Because these are things, I'm telling you, things that I see every day and things that my family and I talk about, like, well, what could we do? Because we already have opened our business up to the national park. We've given them everything. We have to tell them all about our business, but we're okay with that because we love what we do. This river has been good to my family. It's a lifestyle choice. We're not rich, but we're paying the bills. Paying college tuitions, mortgages, keeping the lights on. In fact, I remember one Saturday, and we were exhausted, and I said, Dad, we put out a lot of people today. Do we make a lot of money? No, son, but we paid a lot of bills. And that's the lifestyle here. We're not in it to make money. We're here for the lifestyle. I'm going to leave you with this last story here. There was a gentleman named Ray Jordan of Gilbert. Some of you old-timers might know him. And he was born in Gilbert. He saw 2 world wars, lived to be over 90 years old. He saw the railroad come. He saw the railroad go. He saw the town increase. He saw the town decrease. And my dad went to him because a campground was being put in Gilbert. And he went to him with this for advice. He said, Ray, this new business, it's going to run me out of business. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to expect. What should I do? And Ray, being the older wise man, looked at him and said, I remember a canoe rental and a campground rental coming in back several decades ago. Who is it, Ray? Tell me, who is it? It was you. And he's like, I was the change. People were scared of me, but now I'm part of it. We've been on both sides of the coin here, guys. And so I tell that to tell you this. Ray and the people of Gilbert at that time, they gracefully accepted change. Right? How do we gracefully accept our change right now? Because here's what I think it should be. I love this place. I want to show you why I love this place. And hopefully you will see it through my eyes. Thank you.
My name is Melissa Smith, and I live and work in Marshall and Searcy County and volunteer here also. So I am going to read a statement from the runway group that they sent to us. And all these statements can be found on their website, and I'm reading the most recent one they put up there. They also invite any of us here to reach out to them through their contact page. So on October 24th, 2023, a frequently asked questions section was added. Why the idea? Runway is a privately held company that invests in part in outdoor recreation experiences. For more than a decade, we have invested resources throughout the state to expand access to the outdoors. Our team develops unique experiences that benefit quality of life and create economic opportunities for our communities to thrive. We believe a change in status is one idea that would provide needed infrastructure support to a growing number of tourists. would support the preservation of the river and its current boundaries and would create new ways to benefit the surrounding communities. This is their timeline. It was with all of that in mind that when we approached Congressman Westerman in July 2022 to discuss an idea about the redesignation of the Buffalo National River to a national park preserve. We studied preserve status because it's the only park status that can maintain hunting and other public recreation access. We wanted to get the congressman's thoughts. First, because part of the Buffalo National River is within his district, and because he holds a position on the Natural Resources Committee. Congressman Westerman made it clear to us that the idea needed support from various groups, state and local officials, and the local community. Any status change requires an act of Congress. We had some more conversations, which led us to conducting a poll. Runway paid for a poll in September to ask folks in the region if they'd be open to the idea of changing the status of the river. Polling is something Runway has engaged in the past to understand how people feel about certain topics before we advocate for an idea. We instructed the polling company to be transparent about who funded the study if asked. We learned a lot from the survey, including where we have shared values with the community. Runway doesn't support the taking of private lands and doesn't support mining or drilling on the Buffalo River. We are in favor of maintaining public access to traditional forms of recreation, such as hunting. We were also looking at the success of West Virginia's New River Gorge area, which recently celebrated $3.7 billion in federal funding, since it was designated a national park. A designation change for the Buffalo National River is not our decision to make, and we believe it's an idea worth exploring. So that was their statement that I pulled directly from their website. So the judge's office and volunteers have contacted several agencies and that have a stake in any changes to the river status, including our local organizations. And so next, Daryl Treat is going to come back up here and speak. He's the executive director for the Searcy County Chamber of Commerce and has a statement on behalf of the chamber.
The Greater Searcy County Chamber of Commerce supports the continued status of the Buffalo River as America's first national river. We reject a change in its name and status. The Buffalo River is currently a wild and free-flowing river that is federally protected. The Chamber of Commerce works tirelessly for economic growth and, yes, tourism growth in Searcy County. However, we want growth that we can assimilate, not growth that assimilates us. Most CEOs in America will tell you that their company's greatest resource is their people. The same is true for the Buffalo River watershed. As beautiful as this land is, and it is a beautiful place, the greatest resource here is not the river, it is the people who live here. We have some great history and have made great contributions to the state, the country, and also to mankind. Local people, like people everywhere, should have the largest part to play in their own self-determination and future. We've been told that a change to the river's federal status would bring us an economic benefit. But when we asked to see a plan, we were told there was no plan to see. What would be the environmental impact of a change? the traffic impact of a change, the agricultural impact of a change, the property impact of a change, the land valuation impact of a change, the impact on quality of life of a change. Now, the survey results that were put out said something that was very provocative in my mind. It said that more than 2/3 responded that they would want their member of Congress to vote for the new designation, yet they had no plan. Searcy County hosts approximately 48 miles of our first national river and has direct economic, cultural, and historic standing with the river. Searcy County was formed in 1838 and initially settled shortly before that time. As the local people who live, die, farm, and raise our families here, we insist that we have a prominent and influential voice pertaining to all matters concerning the present and future of the Buffalo National River. We assert the rights of local people to decide local matters. We have young people in Searcy County that are the 10th generation of their family to live here. This is not just a beautiful place to vacation, it is our home. We must take a wise and deliberate approach in securing our posterity's future and protecting our Ozarks way of life. I don't think the effort to redesignate the Buffalo National River to a national park and preserve is over as long as there are continual state editorials in support of the idea, and also due to no definitive rejection of the idea publicly by our Arkansas congressional delegation in the governor's office. And what I heard from Elijah sounded good. I like that. I would like to see that stated publicly to all the people of the state, that this idea is dead without strong support from the local people. Now, I will tell you that my family settled in Searcy County before Arkansas was even a state, and I have many ancestors buried in the county and throughout the watershed, and mine is not the only family that can say that. It is highly disrespectful and paternalistic behavior to discuss major changes to the watershed and not involve local leaders from the start. After all, we live here, and we're the reason that there's infrastructure here. And our tax money maintains the very roads that many people use to access the Buffalo National River. We very much want tourists to visit, stay, and enjoy the Buffalo National River in gorgeous Searcy County, Arkansas. But as the people who physically live here, we also want input into any proposals that could drastically change our future for good or for ill. Inside the Buffalo National River boundaries, inside the boundaries of the river, all Americans have an equal voice. However, outside the boundary but within the watershed, that is not true. Experience floating on the river and camping on the gravel bar does not mean you're an expert on life within the watershed. The local people who physically live here must have a prominent voice about their own future. There is no place for the exclusion from discussions about changes that have consequential impacts to their lands, their homes, their farms, and their future. I believe the vast majority of people who live here, whether from founding families or recent newcomers, are against this change. And I will tell you what I found out is that this issue has seemingly united almost everyone across the political spectrum, in opposition. Whether you're on the far left or the far right or somewhere in the middle, almost everyone stands against this. It seems elementary to never try to push a major change without first engaging the people it affects most and maintaining transparency. A lot can be accomplished with open dialogue. Now, we heard the siren song of economic prosperity 51 years ago when the Buffalo became a national river. The economic claim in a congressional hearing in 1971 of 3,500 new jobs did not come close to being realized. 51 years in, the Buffalo National River supports 864 jobs total, not 3,500. The current $78.4 million economic impact of the Buffalo National River is less than 1% of the $9.2 billion Arkansas tourism industry. And let me tell you, we're all for that in Searcy County. We want to raise our tourism dollars in this county, but the fact is, it's never lived up to what it was supposed to do. Even the Arkansas hunting industry is much larger at $3 billion. For all the talk about the New River Gorge National Park and Preserve being a model for changing the Buffalo National River, let the facts show that the highest recreational visitation total for the Buffalo National River was in 2016, and it was 1,785,359 visits. And the high year for the New River Gorge was 2021 at 1,682,720, or about 100,000 less people than what the Buffalo National River brought here in its high water mark. The Buffalo is quite well known as it is without any change. And I will tell you that the Buffalo National River has more recreational visits than many full-fledged national parks already. More visits than Sequoia, Badlands, Redwoods, Canyonlands, Everglades, Kings Canyon, Big Bend, Crater Lake, Death Valley, Mesa Verde, Capitol Reef, White Sands, and more. Even more than Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve and Devil's Tower National Monument. So the question is, how many more visits do we need or want at the Buffalo? That is an issue that the local people have a right to have a voice on. In conclusion, the local people, you all, in the 4 counties and throughout the watershed, are very wise to not trust anyone's promises without seeing detailed plans, which we have been told do not exist. Thank you very much. I now want to invite Randy from Farm Bureau up to make a statement.
Do you love Searcy County? I'm president of the Searcy County Farm Bureau, and when this began to break, working with Newton County, Marion County, Baxter, matter of fact, there's 8 counties involved in this watershed, and we got together, the presidents did, and we come up with a resolution which we believe will make policy come December the 1st. But before I read that resolution, I want you to know for 88 years, Farm Bureau has looked out for the rights of farmers, agriculture across this state. And there's 180,000 members, 1,580 in this county. If you're a member of Farm Bureau, you have a voice just like any other member. It's a grassroots operation. We want to hear from you, and we have. And with that, we've come up with this policy. And I believe that when it's passed on December the 1st, the legislators, counties, all these people are going to hear from the state staff on what it's about what's going on, what's your policy, how you feel about change in the Buffalo River. The policy that we're trying to pass, or will pass, I believe, is this simple. We oppose the changing of the name, the designation, or the expansion of the Buffalo River and any other future negative impact on agricultural lands, infringement on private land ownership, and its use within the Buffalo River watershed. So with that, we feel like it's very ironclad. I am very confident it's going to pass, and I believe that there will be a pressure. I shouldn't say that word. I'm a hillbilly. There'll be some encouragement to these legislators about this very thing, and it is a force. I want to go back when I was 9 years old. This is the first time I heard about the Buffalo River and what to do with it. Damn it, that was the fear. So they made it a national park within 10 years, 1971. Too young to realize what would happen, but all the promises that was made were broken. I'm talking personally now, not Farm Bureau, but all the promises were broken, and we've seen what they done. And it was mishandled in a very bad way. 1986, they closed the road off on the lower end of Big Creek to a cemetery, which was an active cemetery at that time. Robert, you remember. They got Dale Bumpers to come to Rock Creek, and he spoke before a huge crowd. And he said this one thing, and it stuck with me. He said it would take legislation to reopen that road. I'm here to tell you tonight, personally, legislators, county, all of it, it's going to take legislation to stop this. I'm serious. It'll take legislation to stop this. The smoke is coming up in Bentonville. It's coming up in Washington, D.C., and Little Rock, Arkansas. We know that there's a fire, regardless of what they say. Now, I want you to know that was personally from me, not Farm Bureau. So with that, I'll sit down. But we stand with you, and we will continue to support no change for this river.
So, as a volunteer helping put this together, I made a bunch of phone calls, sent a bunch of texts out, sent a bunch of emails. I contacted environmental groups, legislators, and I'll tell you guys, a lot of them didn't come or didn't offer a statement. A lot of people didn't want to get involved here because the politics are so heated, because emotions are so high. I want to encourage all of you to reach out to these people, to build bridges here. You have a chance to stand together with people, like Darrell said, on the right and on the left. I want to encourage you to look around you. Look at the people who will stand with you. Use the resources that you have. So I have two statements to read to you from all the people that I reached out to. The first one is from the Nature Conservancy. The Nature Conservancy cares deeply about the Buffalo River and the people who live in its watershed, and has not been involved in the discussions to consider the Buffalo National River designation to become a national park and preserve. Our mission is to conserve the lands and waters on which all life depends, and this includes advocating for the people and local communities who live, work, and play in the places we operate. We believe public participation and input are essential to preserving the natural beauty and rich cultural heritage of this extraordinary free-flowing river. That's from Dr. J. Tyler Fox. He's the Nature Conservancy River Conservation Manager. My next statement is from the National Park Service itself. Established in 1972 by an act of Congress, Buffalo National River is one of 425 national parks in the national park system. The freely flowing national river includes running rapids and quiet pools, as it travels 135 miles through the Ozark Mountains to the White River. Any changes to the park's designation would be made by Congress. I asked Kylie Harris to read Judge Horton's statements for you tonight, so she's going to be joining us next.
From the Office of Judge Horton, in my official capacity as Searcy County Judge, I want to make sure my constituents know that I am 100% behind them in the opposition of the possible redesignation of the Buffalo National River to Buffalo National River Park and Preserve. That is not to say that there are not some folks who are for it, and that is their right. But I have to listen to all of my people. Please know I hear you. Now, with that being said, I'd like to briefly explain that personally, this is a very important issue. I'll be transparent and say that 56 of my 57 years have been lived within the 5 miles of the Buffalo National River here in Searcy County. I love it, the way of life, the community, the culture, the river itself. I do not want change that could hurt any of that. But, and that is a big part here, but I pray daily to not let my personal opinions interfere with my duties to you good people of Searcy County, and to make sure that I do those duties to the best of my ability. So again, I say as judge, I am opposed to any redesignation through eminent domain or otherwise, opposed to requiring permits for hunting, floating, or fishing beyond what is already required, opposed to being told how to farm, use, or live on our personal property, opposed to mining or harvesting of natural resources within the boundaries of the Buffalo National River. I stand with the majority on this issue against a redesignation of the Buffalo National River. That is a lot to be against. So, on a positive ending, I want you guys to know that I am for some things too. I am for the citizens of this county being in control of the future. I am for working as a team. I believe in our ability as a community to decide what is best for us as a whole. I want to partner with the folks who live here to preserve our heritage while also embracing improvements and necessary change. I appreciate all of you for showing up here tonight, for supporting our goal, and standing together. Thank you. And thank you to Judge Tony Horton for all he has done to put this together. Our next panelist is Andy McCutcheon to give us information about the Buffalo River Conservation Committee.
I don't have a prepared speech. I'm just going to talk about my experience being on the Buffalo River Conservation Committee. I'm on the subcommittees. I got involved during the movement to close C&H Hog Farm. I was president of the Searcy County Cattlemen's Association at the time, and we were opposing that action against C&H. So I attended a lot of the meetings concerning that. I was asked by Secretary Ward, Department of Agriculture, to sit on some of the subcommittees for BRCC, and I felt that our local farmers, ranchers needed to be represented. We need to have an ear there, and we need to have a voice. So I've been involved with this since it became the Buffalo River Conservation Committee. And the areas that we've done projects in are water quality studies, unpaved road projects. We turned the agricultural practices over to RCPP, which is administered by our NRCS office. So that's kind of a separate program. And we've also done wastewater and water facilities improvements. So of the $1 million that Governor Hutchinson gave to the BRCC, we've leveraged that into around $3 million worth of work throughout Newton and Searcy County. And it's all been practices that, while it improves or helps maintain the quality of water in the Buffalo, it benefits the residents of the counties. The unpaved road projects, one of the things that I brought up and lobbied for and got approved was when we were ranking those road projects, the number of county residents that lived on them and whether or not our school buses went up and down them had to be part of the ranking process. So if we had roads that qualified for that, and one of them was on the school bus route and the other wasn't, the one with the school bus route graded higher. And I thought that was the best way to do that, to make sure we were getting the most bang for the buck, so to speak. From my experience here, I will tell you, the Buffalo River Conservation Committee as a whole was not involved in any of this, knew nothing about it. 2 months ago, we had a meeting in Jasper. This was brought up about the phone surveys. And we actually discussed it briefly. Nobody seemed to be aware of it. When I left there, I started calling people throughout the county asking, if you've had them or if you hear about them, let me know. We're trying to figure out where this is coming from. And from there, it developed into this. The last meeting of the BRCC was held here in Marshall, and we discussed it briefly in that meeting because I brought it up. And I told them how the public felt and what it had done. And if they did know any of the players, they needed to take that back to them, that we weren't happy. They just ripped a scab off a 50-year-old wound and probably closed a lot of inroads that we'd worked hard to make through this committee. So now the individual secretaries that make up the actual committee, we have the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Health, Department of Parks and Tourism, and the Department of Environment and Energy. 2 of those I've worked with since 2019. The other 2 are recent appointees. What they do in their individual capacities as their positions, I'm not going to speak for that. But while they're on the board or the committee, they knew nothing about this, or at least they brought nothing about this to the table. And it's nothing that the BRCC would be involved in. Now, if you've got questions about what we've done, I'd be more than glad to answer them. I've been involved or took part in the processes of the things we've done. And it's all had a direct benefit, not just to the Buffalo River, but to the residents of our counties. I'm going to say 2 things. Number 1, is Randy still here? Randy Garner threatened to kick my tail. Call your representatives, both in the state and our congressional representative senators, and let them know. I just had a discussion with Judge Horton when we walked in here, and I think we should have them look into the 5 counties that are named in that survey. I know 2 of them, and I think a third's working on a resolution in opposition to this, but I think it would maybe have a bigger impact if they did a joint resolution in opposing this. And the petitions that are being passed around in each of the counties were all combined, sent to our congressmen, our representatives, and to our governor. Thank you.
Next, Billy Bell from the Newton County Alliance is going to join us and kind of tell us what they're about.
Good evening, everybody. So my name is Billy Bell. I'm a Newton County resident. I grew up just across the river from Mount Searcy, if anybody knows where that is. So I crossed the Newton County, Searcy County line most of my life playing in the river. So I'm here to introduce to you the Alliance for the Buffalo National River. Give you our mission statement. We're new, just in case anybody's wondering. We're brand new. Like, how many days old are we? Like, I don't know, 3 days old? But we're here to get this thing going. So what we're here for, maintaining the Buffalo National River designation as National River, as is. We're for diverse, responsible, and sustainable economic growth of the Buffalo River region. We're for the enjoyment of the recreational, hunting, and fishing activities that the Buffalo National River Act of 1972 already protects. We're for increased congressional funding for the existing Buffalo National River, keeping the Buffalo National River accessible and free to people from all walks of life. And we are for nurturing and protecting the Buffalo River region's unique cultural qualities and abundant wildlife, natural beauty, tranquil farms, outdoor recreation, and vibrant rural communities. Some important facts that we have. According to Dave Barrick, Public Affairs Specialist with National Park Service News Media, when asked about the differences in funding a national river like the Buffalo River and a national park and preserve like New River Gorge in West Virginia, there would be no change to how the park is funded based on this designation. Nothing changes. National preserves are similar to national parks, protecting a large swath of land. Still, they also allow commercial activities, oil extraction, hunting, and trapping to occur under certain circumstances. Right now, hunting, fishing, and free access to the Buffalo National River are already permitted within the National Park Service boundaries. There are also historic allowances for certain types of fishing and hunting, which are unique to the Buffalo National River as per Buffalo National River's legislative bill. Mining and extraction can be approved after the park has been legislated or redesignated. Bears Ears National Monument and Arctic National Wildlife Refuge were given a more protected designation. Those activities were not permitted. Monuments, refuges, and preserves all allow under certain circumstances because of their less protected status. I may have messed that up a little bit, so what I'm saying is monuments, refuges, and preserves all allow extraction and mining and other commercial uses because it's a less protective status. Okay, New River Gorge National River, just some comparisons. New River Gorge National River was changed to a park and preserve. In 2020, after being included in a COVID relief bill, New River Gorge became a park and preserve. It was brought before the community twice before being lumped into a larger bill. New River Gorge also had a slower tourism sector as compared to the Buffalo National River. National Park Service visitor stats suggest that after New River Gorge was designated as a park and preserve, they still hadn't reached the number of visitors BNR, or Buffalo National River, has recorded as a national river. You heard those stats earlier. Did not increase visitation due to the designation change. And when asked about taxes, housing, schools, and those sort of things, Madison County Record, in an article in November 15th, 2023, said that current infrastructure on New River Gorge is lacking, housing and lodging are in short supply, eating in one's favorite restaurant can be problematic, property values and taxes have increased, parking is horrible, traffic is congested, and the school system continues to rank near the bottom of the state's school districts. Lack of infrastructure caught everyone off guard when federal funding did not accompany redesignation. So, I have some town hall results from our meeting on October 26, 2023, from the survey that was put out there. 737 participants in the town hall meeting on the possible redesignation of the Buffalo National River were surveyed. Surveys were optional, anonymous, and self-administered. 491, or 67% of respondents, lived in Newton County. The 232, or 32%, who do not lived in the following counties: Baxter, Benton, Boone, Carroll, Faulkner, Grant, Johnson, Lone Oak, Madison, Marion, Perry, Pope, Pulaski, Searcy, Stone, and Washington. 14, 2% of respondents did not answer this question. 705, or 96%, want to keep the existing designation. 9, or 1% of respondents believe the designation should be changed to National Park Preserve. 23, or 3% of respondents did not answer the question. Other question asked: have you been contacted by phone, survey regarding this issue? 23, or 3%, were contacted by phone survey. 640 or 87% were not even contacted. 74 or 10% of respondents did not answer the question. In regards to activities or privileges being restricted or banned as a result of the redesignation, 82% listed farming as their largest concern, followed by both hunting and fishing at 78%, as indicated by overall respondents. Those who want to redesignate the river status also have concerns, with 66% listing canoeing, kayaking, rafting, and 44% listing hunting as activities they are not concerned about becoming restricted or banned as a result of redesignation. So those are the numbers that were from our survey. Thank you.
And guys, I know one of the things that everybody really wants to do is to kind of reminisce about the park and to tell your own stories. And so to kind of give you a way to do that, I've asked Charity from the Marshall Mountain Wave to come and give you some ideas.
Ladies and gentlemen, as Jennifer said, my name is Charity. I'm the editor of the Marshall Mountain Wave newspaper located here in Searcy County. When I first heard about the issue concerning the Buffalo River, I instantly went to work finding out all the information that I could gather. I spent countless hours on the phone speaking to anyone who had information. I also spent several hours on my computer researching the companies and anything that I can find to write down a story for you guys to try and explain as much as I possibly could. One of those phone calls was actually to Runway Group. And let's just say that the conversation that I had with them was not the most pleasant experience, because they were trying to back out of what they were saying. And one of the things that they kept saying was that it was a conversation, that what they said, that nothing was going to come of it. But at the same time, I'm like, why the deception? This was handled horribly. None of our residents knew about it. None of our elected officials knew about it. It was secretive, and it's been destructive. So my goal has always been to provide my readers with the most accurate information that I could give. That's just the way that I was taught by Jane and Dale Estes. They owned the Wave from 2012 all the way up until 2021. You see, my parents and I moved here when I was 9 years old. We moved here in 1996. I moved, don't hate me for this, but I moved from Portland, Oregon. I am an implant, but you are my people. Searcy County is my community. I have chose to stay here. I've chosen to, this is where I work. And I will fight and I will write whatever I can that is accurate for my community. My father used to tell me the stories of the Buffalo River as I was growing up, and I immediately fell in love with the Buffalo River and with Searcy County. As soon as we drove into Searcy County, I fell in love with the beauty, I fell in love with the water of the buffalo, and I fell in love with the feeling of a new home. The Buffalo River is a big part of everyone in Searcy County. I know that everyone has a story about the river. We at The Wave would like to offer everyone a chance to tell their stories by sending a letter to the editor to the Wave office. You can email it, you can mail it, you can fax it, or you can bring it in to us. We are open Monday through Thursday 8 to 4:30. And I have copies of our letter to the editor policy at each tables as you walk out. Again, it has our info at the bottom. As always, thank you for supporting the Marshall Mountain Wave, because we're going to do our darndest to support you. All right, that concludes our speakers for tonight. Thank you, everybody who's up here with us, for your contributions. I hope you guys shake these guys' hands. A lot of them have traveled a long way to be here, and everybody worked very hard to put this together. Melissa is going to present your questions after Stephen speaks, because we are out of order because we had a slight mishap. Stephen.
going to roll with it.
gonna
You were
roll
going to be
with
like,
it.
well, I got left out. No, we had to change our
it
speaking
happens.
order tonight.
Yeah,
So
it
Stephen's going to
happens.
pop in really fast before the end.
Yeah, I know we're all ready to go, so I'll make mine short and sweet. I don't like being up here for very long talking. So first, I would like to thank Darrell Treat, Senator King, and all of you guys for reaching out and keeping me updated with what you know. I know for the first few weeks, all the information I received was from you guys reaching out and telling me what you know. So thank you for doing so. I received, other than you guys reaching out, I did receive 2 phone calls early on. It was about a week or 2 before Darrell Treat, I think, found out that something was going on behind the scenes. So I didn't have much of a head start on it. The first phone call was to inform me that there was something being looked at as far as changing the Buffalo River over to a national park and preserve. And my request to them was to reach out to the county judges in both Searcy County and Newton County and the mayors that are along the watershed, because they know the concerns of the people better than anybody else. Apparently none of that took place. Let's fast forward to the town hall meeting in Newton County. I believe it was a week before that, I received my second phone call, my second and last phone call from the runway group's lobbyist, asking basically where I stood on it. And I told them that my early concerns was that you guys needed to reach out to the county judges in the area, the mayors along the watershed, and to my knowledge that none of that took place. Why would we support something that affects the locals without the locals having any input? And so anyway, I said it made it easy for me because I'm going to be against something that has no local input without even looking at it. The other thing that I didn't really like was there was no written plan about what was taking place. So everybody that was calling me, all of you guys that were calling me, you were asking me questions, and there was no written plan that answered it, which to me was strike 2 in my book. You do not need to get out there and poll people and present an idea without having a written plan about how it would take place. And that written plan or whatever could have taken place if our county judges and our mayors were included in the loop, which they never were. But I do want to go into that it did matter that you guys were reaching out. I know early on before I ran for state rep, I was one of those where I didn't think your voice really mattered anymore. Being elected, I have seen firsthand that it matters. The phone calls that you gave me mattered to me, and they still do. And the phone calls that you gave to Congressman Westerman's office and Congressman Crawford's office mattered to them. So you guys speaking up, I do believe, is what stopped this, or at least stopped it at this time, so we can kind of figure out now what's going on, if there is anything. About a week ago, earlier this week, I reached out to the lobbyist of the runway group and I told them that I was hearing rumors that things may be sparking up again. Where are you guys at on it? He said, whatever you're hearing is not true. And again, I'm just giving this to you guys as information that I've received. Whether it's true or not, I'm not up here trying to say that it is. But the information they gave me is that the Waltons and everybody has walked away from it. The push is no longer there, or at least up on their behalf, but we still need to keep an eye on it. At the end of the day, local decisions need to be by you guys. It does not need to be something that happens on a state level. It does not need to be something that happens on a federal level. Even what we do in Little Rock, you guys need to have that input. It does not need to be us, whether it's the governor, the congressman, the president, whoever. You guys are the ones that need to decide at the end of the day what happens in your area. And I do believe that you reaching out to your congressman sent that message. And I don't believe that will be overlooked again. So I do want to applaud you guys for taking that step and giving the effort. Last thing that I want to point out real quick is if there's anything that I can do on the state level, or even if it's a national level, that you're having issues with, please reach out to me. I've tried to return every phone call that I've had. If you hear more rumors about things that are going on within the watershed or on the state and federal level, let me know, because like this, sometimes I don't know that it's going on until you reach out and tell me. So please don't think that you're irritating me by reaching out. I want to hear from you guys. If you have issues on the state level, reach out. I have staff in Little Rock that will help me help you guys, so let's utilize that. So don't be afraid to reach out. It really helps more than what people, I think, realize. But thank you guys for giving me a chance to speak tonight, and I hope everybody has a good evening if I'm the last speaker.
So Stephen really was the last speaker, but Melissa is going to present some of the questions that we received either here in the lobby or on the online forum, and she is going to conclude for us at the end of the evening. Guys, I hope you say thank you truly and sincerely to everybody who's helped here.
Okay. We just have a few questions that we marked to ask, so anybody that can answer, please come answer, even if you spoke or not today. First is this is not a question, just a statement. So there are still several surveys in the lobby if anyone would like to fill one out before you leave. They would appreciate it. They say they're on the black tables. And because we're running a little bit longer than we thought, so we have just a few questions. One, has the runway group contacted any JP members about redesignation? No. Okay, thank you. So what protections do incorporated cities have from being annexed into federal lands? Why isn't Gilbert part of the national park, for example?
Hello, everybody. I'm Chip Johnson, Mayor of Gilbert. I have been asking this question with several people, trying to come to a conclusion. Don't know, from what I've been told, we're transplants. We've been on property here for about 9 years, lived here for about almost 8 years now. So the reason why we weren't originally in with the designation of the Buffalo National River was because we were an incorporated town. Don't know if the redesignation is to happen, what that would do to us. I've done some research. Some of their offices have been doing research going back as far as 30 years so far. Cannot find one single incident where there's been a national park designation come up with an incorporated town in it. We're still trying to search into that and figure out what will happen. Sir? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. I just want to find some kind of legal precedent that says this is what will happen. And I understand all y'all's concerns. I feel the same way. We own property in Gilbert. My wife has a business in Gilbert. We fell in love with Gilbert from the first time we come up here, and that's where we wanted to be, and that's where we uprooted to, even having several businesses in Texas. We wanted here, we came here, and this is what we love. So I understand everybody's concerns, and that's all I got. Thank y'all.
Okay, we're going to do one more question because I know it's getting late. Everybody's ready to go. What advice would local government and interest groups give to the state or economic development leaders who are trying to advance areas like Searcy County? Can anybody answer that here?
I'm not sure I understand the question very well.
I'm just reading what's on here. I am not sure either. So, do you want to speak to it?
I will tell you that the Chamber of Commerce works with state tourism, and we work with the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, and so we are actively engaged with them to help Searcy County, but we don't want them to tell us what to do. We, want to work with them, but and we do that all the time. So it's something that is not being missed.
Okay. All right. So that is it. We do want to make another note. The county clerk is set up in the lobby if you need to register to vote. And on behalf of all our county officials, the Quorum Corps, our panelists, thank you for coming out tonight, and have a great evening.